Ben Johnson is the greatest hire the Chicago Bears have ever made. And I got 10 reasons why right now. Welcome back to Bears Yard. This your boy Vipe. And the number one reason why Ben Johnson is the greatest hire the Chicago Bears have ever made, he knows the division. The Detroit Lions actually swept the division this season, going 6-0, beating everybody. And even the year before them, when I think they went 4-2 in the division, the man has intimate game plans against your top division rivals. And I told you all before that if you want to make the playoffs in the NFL, the first thing that you have to do as an NFL team is conquer your own division. So why not go out and hire a guy who has literally helped conquer your division? And speaking of your division, number two, hiring Ben Johnson weakens one of your biggest division rivals. The Detroit Lions will no longer have the services of Ben Johnson as their offensive coordinator, as he is now your head coach of the Chicago Bears. So who does Dan Campbell turn to run that offense in Detroit, since it will not be Ben Johnson? And on a side note, not only will the Lions not have Ben Johnson, they will also be without the services of Aaron Glenn, who was hired by the New York Jets. So the Lions lost both of their coordinators this offseason, so I expect a fall off, maybe not by much, but they're going to decline a little bit. Number three, with Ben Johnson having been the offensive coordinator of the Lions for the past 3 years, he has intimate knowledge of the Chicago Bears team, having gone up against them 6 times in the last 3 years. He knows their strengths, he knows their weaknesses, so he already has a plan of attack on what he wants to do to fortify their strengths and mitigate their weaknesses, if not eliminate them, as head coach of the Bears, given that, again, he had game planned against the team for the past 3 years. I got more for you, but first, you're watching Bears Yard, your home of opinionated Chicago Bears talk, Monday through Friday, right here on YouTube. So if you don't want to miss an episode, hit that subscribe button. 4, something that I don't think we appreciate enough in the NFL. Ben Johnson came in at his introductory press conference and said that he is going to build this offense from the ground up around Caleb Williams. One of the biggest issues with Shane Waldron is that he came in and installed an offense, and he expected Caleb, being a rookie quarterback, to learn that offense instead of crafting an offense around Caleb Williams. And although Caleb Williams did excel at times in Shane Waldron's offense, ultimately it proved to be a mistake because the offense really didn't get started until later in games. It could have been handled better. We see what's happening in Washington with the Commanders. Cliff Kingsbury crafted an offense that was formed around Jaden Daniels, and now they're in the NFC title game. So Ben Johnson saying that he's going to come in here, tear the offense down, and then build it up around Caleb Williams is definitely new age thinking, and something that will greatly benefit Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears in 2025. Number 5, Ben Johnson was wanted by multiple teams. Just this year, the Raiders and Tom Brady were poking around. The Jaguars were looking. Last year, the Commanders had interest, and then the year before that, the Panthers had interest. So when you have multiple teams that are vying for the attention and services of a guy, that guy then becomes the hot guy in the cycle, and it's not just for show. Those teams wanted Ben Johnson because he has the cachet and the resume that goes to show that he has had success in the NFL, and these teams wanted some of that success for their own selves. And we, the Chicago Bears, got Ben Johnson services out of all his other suitors. And remember, he turned down jobs to go back to Detroit, but not this time. The Chicago Bears landed him, which leads to number 6. Ben Johnson wanted this Chicago Bears job. You know, a lot of times when you are on the cusp of becoming a head coach in the NFL, you might take whatever job is available to you because you want to be a head coach. They always say there's only 32 of these jobs and they don't come open too often, so you're going to take the chance that you get. So you might take a head coach job that you don't really truly want, but hey, you're a head coach, so you can say you got the job. Well, again, as I just alluded to, Ben Johnson turned down jobs, but here we are in the 3rd year that he has been in the coaching cycle. He chose the Chicago Bears because he took his family to Cub games. George McCaskey stated that in the Zoom call, the first thing that came out of Ben Johnson's mouth, I want this job. And right before the Zoom call ended, Ben Johnson reiterated, did I tell you I want this job? It hits a little different, you all, when you get the job that you worked so hard for, that you truly wanted. And I think Ben Johnson will excel as the head coach of the Chicago Bears. Number 7, he will be a play calling head coach. And even better that he is an offensive play calling head coach, which means that when the Chicago Bears offense takes off, they're not coming to poach Ben Johnson from your staff because he is the head coach. So it's not going to be like a Mike Tomlin situation or a Dan Campbell situation where I alluded to earlier. Dan Campbell is losing both of his coordinators, or Mike Tomlin failing to find an offensive coordinator. That's one of the big things about hiring a defensive-minded head coach in the NFL. When they have an offensive coordinator that does well, there's a chance that other teams are going to poach that coordinator for head coaching openings. The NFL is an offensive-driven league, and the best way to have sustained success, in my opinion, is to hire an offensive-minded head coach. Look at Minnesota with Kevin O'Connell. Look at Green Bay with Matt LaFleur. Kansas City with Andy Reid. So on and so forth. So the Bears did the right thing here by hiring a play caller who is offensive minded to be the head coach. Number 8, he just won the Assistant Coach of the Year award from Pro Football Writers of America. Now, this might not mean much to you all, but when you hear the list of names of people that won this award, you might think a little differently. Some of the people that have won this award goes as follows. Mike McDonald, who is the coach of the Seattle Seahawks right now. D'Amico Ryans, who's currently the head coach of the Houston Texans. Dan Quinn, the head coach of the Washington Commanders. Brian Daboll, the current head coach of the New York Giants. Greg Roman, who I think is the offensive coordinator of the San Diego Chargers at the moment. Vic Fangio, who is doing big things as a defensive coordinator in Philadelphia. Pat Shermer, who's actually coached now in Colorado with Primetime, I think. Kyle Shanahan, head coach of the 49ers. Hugh Jackson and Wade Phillips. And this year's award recipient is none other than our very own Ben Johnson. Number 9, he is young, and because he is young, he's 38, he can grow with Caleb. On the St. Brown podcast, one of the things that Caleb Williams said that he wants a coach that he can grow and mature with. Well, when you hire a 38-year-old head coach, that is definitely somebody that Caleb Williams can grow and mature with. And I think Caleb mentioned being in the league for like 15, 17, 19 years. Well, we know Ben Johnson ain't going nowhere. He's been already in the game for 13 years. And he's only ascending, and now he is the head coach. So now him and Caleb can have that opportunity to grow and mature together. And last but not least, and this is kind of a funny one, the last reason why Ben Johnson is the greatest hire in the history of the Chicago Bears, he is not represented by Tra Armstrong. I don't know how many of you all read that ESPN article that came out the other day from Kalen Kaler about how Tra Armstrong has been running rampant throughout the Chicago Bears organization for years. Some of the clients that he's been responsible for, Matt Eberflus, Matt Nagy, Luke Getsy, Shane Waldron. I mean, do I need to go on? All of these dudes represented by Tra Armstrong, and they have been absolutely not so good. That is not the case with our Ben Johnson. He is represented by Rick Smith of Priority Sports, and thank you, Lord, that we do not have a Tra Armstrong client as head coach of the Chicago Bears. But Bear fans, let me know, did I miss any reasons as to why Ben Johnson is the greatest hire in the history of the Chicago Bears? Drop a comment, and if you want more opinionated Bears talk, hit that video right there.